I'm Deborah Gordon. I'm a senior fellow here at the Watson Institute, and my research actually focuses on the climate impacts of heterogeneous oil and gas resources. I'm one of those voices out there that's trying to create a lot more information to disaggregate this industry, because I think that the way that we really arrive at a solution on climate change is to not treat oil as if it's all the same and not treat gas as if it's all the same. The more we recognize the differences in a competitive industry like this, the much easier it is to kind of nick away at these emissions here. So before I introduce our panelists, just 3 points to frame our discussion. On our climate futures, and this has been said, but just merits saying again, business as usual is not sustainable. The IPCC's stricter 1.5 degree limit on global temperature rise traces these pathways to meet 1.5 degrees, and they all center on reducing fossil fuels. There is no way out of this without reducing emissions from fossil fuels somehow. Secondly, on carbon bubbles, the future is unfortunately very likely closer than we think it is. If current fossil fuel trends continues, and I think this is a bit shocking, in just 15 years we'll be at that 1.5 degree limit on climate, above which is dangerous enough, above which we know is even more dangerous. And 15 years, when I think back, 15 years ago feels like yesterday. It goes so fast. And so there really is no time to lose here. And third, on stranding assets, as I said before, I really do believe the key is differentiating these fossil fuels, not lumping oils together, not lumping gas together. I really do also believe that geopolitically, if we did that, the competition in this industry would probably eat itself up a little bit, and you'd have the American Petroleum Institute and other agencies of these industries not being as strong as they are, because there is real competitiveness within these different companies. And we're not addressing that by allowing us to look at oil as if it's one thing, and gas as if it's one thing, and we have to summarily just get off the oil train. This is probably not going to work quite that way. So in my research I found that oil and gas life cycle greenhouse gas emissions varied by a factor of 10 in terms of oil and gas production, refining, and processing. There are huge variances in which assets should be stranded sooner, which assets we can live with longer as we're getting off oil and gas. And if policymakers, investors, companies, NGOs strategically fragment and compare oil and gas, we can structure a low-carbon transition. I really do believe we can see a pathway here. It won't only just get us off oil and gas and strand certain assets sooner that are dirtier, it will spur innovation in this sector that has been too long in coming. Many of the technologies in the fossil fuel industry, coal, oil, and gas, they stem from the 1930s. It's almost 100 years since a lot of these technologies have been re-innovated. And a lot of that has to change here as, again, we step off this oil, gas, coal. So let's kick off the first panel. I'll introduce all 3 of them, and they'll go in succession. Their topics are relatively connected. We have a very economics-heavy panel here. First will be Joe Aldi. He's an associate professor of public policy at the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. His research focuses on climate policy, energy policy, and mortality risk valuation. And he'll be talking to us about focal carbon prices. Then we have, I think we're in order, Marcelo Otro, who is an economist with the Federal Reserve Board in their monetary and financial market analysis section. And he'll be talking about the price of long-run temperature shifts in capital markets. And last will be, from the farthest distance, from Vienna, Armen Resign, who is an associate professor of environmental economics at Vienna University of Economics and Business, and he will talk to us about stranded assets in fossil fuels industry and the capitalization of climate risks. Joe?